Best Podcast Ever is sponsored by the Gertzberg Law Firm, an award-winning, full-service business law firm in Cleveland and Chagrin Falls that is changing the way businesses hire and pay for their attorneys. Go to gertzberglaw.com to learn more. While you're there, check out Cover My Six, a one-of-a-kind, complete legal audit of the 6 areas most likely to get a business sued or investigated. Lawsuits no longer have to be the cost of doing business. They are distracting, time-consuming, expensive, and with Cover My Six, often avoidable. Go to covermysix.com to learn how we keep your company safe. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the best podcast ever recorded.
Hi, Molly Goblin.
Hi, Alex Gertzberg.
How are you?
You look so cute with that little baseball hat on.
Thank you.
You look good in baseball hats.
Thank you.
You're itching. Got a lot of dirt going on
I
there.
haven't showered in a couple days.
So we had a little storm yesterday.
Dude, that storm was crazy last night.
Well, you tell your story and I'll tell mine.
All right. So I was in Columbus over the weekend. On Saturday night, so I was there for this trade show for the Auto Dealers Association. Spent the night there Saturday night. Had a big late night party. Woke up midday in the hotel on Sunday and figured, all right, I'll drive home. I'm not going to shower. I don't need to. I'll shower when I get home. Shower when I get home. Right?
Famous last words.
Yeah. So I was wearing what you see me wearing today more than 24 hours later. Right. Got my tennis shoes, and my running pants, and by the way,
the baseball tee.
I also slept in these on
I love
Saturday
everything
night,
about this story.
or Sunday night. No, Saturday night and okay. So anyway,
yeah, right.
So here's what happens. So then I drive home Sunday afternoon. I get home and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna jump right in the shower.
Sure.
And then young Jacob Gertzberg was like, hey, let's go see Thor, right? And I go, hey, that's a great idea. Let's go see Thor. So I didn't shower. I'm still wearing the same stuff that I woke up in, and we go see Thor at Aurora, right? It's 7.
Did you have popcorn?
I did. Oh, I thought you were going to say I smell popcorn.
No, I love
I feel like everything I ate or drank in the last 48 hours is coming out of my pores. So anyway, we go to Aurora. We watch all the reviews. Star Wars looks amazing. That was.
I fell asleep during the original.
Really?
Yeah.
During the
At
original.
the drive-in. Yeah, original.
Like in 1979.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
I didn't fall asleep during that.
Because it's boring.
All right, that's crazy talk. I'll say that for another episode.
Yeah.
So then the movie starts, and 20 minutes into the movie, the lights go off. The screen goes off. It goes.
Were you freaking out?
Totally. And which I want to, dude.
That's my biggest fear is getting killed in a movie theater.
Yeah. So I start panicking.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And there's like this just emergency flashing light.
Oh, hell no.
Right? And I mean, so there was that shooting yesterday too in that church.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
I got my
Texas.
flag half-staff alert on my phone.
Yeah.
And
Dude.
I don't know why. So I have to research that when I get home.
I was losing my mind. Right?
And you're trying to be a parent, so
Yeah.
you're trying to maintain that calmness, but yet you're freaking out inside.
It's crazy that we're thinking this way.
It is insane.
And the thing of it is, I knew that there was a storm outside, but that's not where my mind went, right? My mind went, all right, where are the exits? And how am I going to protect my kid with my body, right?
Without Nellie yelling at me, I would have crapped my pants.
Yeah. So fortunately, it was the storm, right? Which was a crazy, crazy storm outside, and it knocked all the power out in Aurora, right? Gosh. And we're just sitting there, and I think everybody in that theater was panicking to some extent.
So was everyone just sitting there, or did you? See, I would have gotten up and walked out the exit door. There's no way I would have sat there. No way in hell.
It was a little surreal.
Yeah,
you know?
like no one knew what to do.
Yeah. Well, so anyway, eventually somebody comes in and says, there's a power outage. We're gonna see if we can get the movie turned back on, but hang out, right? So 10 minutes later, they come back And you know what? Even during that 10 minutes, I was like, was it really a power outage?
Yeah.
Right? Or
yeah.
did somebody
See the killer?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's weird because I'm 42 years old.
Yeah.
I've watched 1,000 movies in movie theaters. That was the first time that experience of
Always.
like the movie. Have you ever like been in a power outage in a movie theater?
No, but I have left movies. I think we've talked about it on here because I have been uncomfortable with somebody in the theater.
Dude, yeah. So now we they put us in the lobby and they give us vouchers because they can't, even if they could restart the movie, which it turns out
you're there till midnight.
Aurora and Bainbridge and parts east of there, I think, weren't turned on until this morning.
Oh my God.
So then come on in, Nellie. We're just talking about the storm.
I mean, just know.
So now young Jacob and I are driving back. Well, first of all, we leave the theater and it is like the zombie apocalypse outside, right? Trees falling down. There is not a light anywhere, right? I mean, no lights in the parking lot, nothing. It's just pitch black. I thought we entered space, right? It was that dark. And then we start driving up 306. We get turned around there by a fallen tree, right in front of us. Went back up Aurora, up Geauga Lake Road, another fallen tree.
Oh my gosh!
Right? Calling the babysitter, Meg Pawkins' daughter is babysitting, and we're like, well, we can't find our house because we
can't get to it.
And then we go up Pettibone, and you know that giant church, that mega church on the corner of Pettibone and Aurora. Its entire steeple has fallen. It was blown down. I got a crazy picture of it. Yeah, you have to post it, dude.
That is apocalypse.
It's you know what? I just got to show it to you right now.
Oh yes, we'll post it for sure.
Look at this thing.
That is. Oh my gosh!
I thought the world was coming to an end.
Absolutely.
And there was like 1,000 cars. There were like 1,000 cars. Like I don't think any of those people actually knew that had happened.
Oh, because they were all
inside. It was Sunday Mass.
Goodness.
It was Sunday night.
How could you not have heard that? But yeah.
So then,
crazy,
all right.
Crazy.
So then, finally we make it home. There's no power, right? And we're
that
all
shower you wanted to jump into.
Yeah, no shower. We're all huddling together. I'm still wearing the same clothes. So now it's this morning, right? It's this morning, and I'm like, oh well. Oh, first we get a call from our good friend Nancy Santilli. School's canceled, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they still don't have power in Kenston, and so I'm like, well, all right. Ethan and Jacob they can take care of themselves. You know, I got meetings in the morning. I check back, but Maya's 4. What she needs to be entertained.
A little guidance.
Yeah.
A little guidance.
So I figure. So I'm watching the clock from like 4:30 in the morning until like. It opens at 6:30, right? And 6:30 comes around, and I'm like, all right, sweet. I'm gonna get because nobody's really sleeping, right? Everyone's like cold, and we got the fire going. I get Maya in the car. We get to her daycare, and there's a sign: no water, no power. I turn around. I get Ethan, Jacob, and Maya, and we go to yours truly for breakfast. Man, it's been that kind of 2 days.
Oh my gosh! Well, we were at the Cavs game, and when we walked out, it started pouring, and I got an alert on the phone that said "Take shelter," and I'm like, actually, it said where you are right now, take shelter.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I had just got done hugging and kissing my Mike Callum. In the parking lot.
Really?
We ran into each other,
That's how you guys roll?
That's how we roll. He got out of the car just to hug and kiss me.
That's lovely.
And so I had found a box by the garbage can.
Like a homeless person?
Yes, and put it over my head so we could walk to the garage, or because we parked in just a parking place. And so I'm running down the street with
like a homeless person.
Yes, with that covering my head.
Wait, is it just a cardboard box?
It was just a cardboard box. My feet were. I mean, it was a torrential downpour. So we get to the car, and I'm just like, well, should we sit here if there's a tornado? What the hell are we supposed to do? Should we go back into the I didn't know what to do. And of course, John, we're just going to get on the road. And I'm like, John, you're not going to be able to see anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the water coming over from the other side of the freeway.
Is that right?
So no
On
one was
480?
in that. Yeah, no one was in that fast lane because the water was just coming over. It was crazy. So we're driving along at 20 miles an hour on 480.
Yeah.
Everyone has their little flashers on. And we got to about Miles Road, so 271, and this car comes up next to us and going super, super slow, and they have their interior lights on. You can tell they're trying to tell us something, and John's like, do you know them? And I'm like, there's no way we're going to slow down on 271 during this tornado. So we're like, okay, we're waving back, and we have no idea who they are. We get to the store. And John goes out. He realized this is a brand new car, 3 days old. He has no backlights at all.
That is not the weather conditions.
We could have been.
So those dudes were like waving you down?
Yes, turn your lights on is what they were saying. But our lights were on, but we had no backlights. No backlights
Oh my
whatsoever.
God.
We could have been killed.
Dude, if there was a semi behind you?
Killed.
Yeah.
Killed.
That reminds me of that scene in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles when they're going the wrong way and they're yelling at John Candy, "You're going the wrong way." And he's like,
hey,
he's like, how do they know where I'm trying to go?
It was crazy. And then we experienced that same thing coming off 306 and driving by Giant Eagle and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Surreal.
just crap all over the street. Right. And did a tornado actually touch? Does anyone know?
I think that was a tornado. Well, I don't know.
But that's bizarre to have a tornado in November. Isn't that a little crazy? And then Mike Callum just told me that the car he was in, that his power steering went off. So we were wondering if there was something going
Electrical
on.
Storm? Well, when Jacob and I were driving up, making our first attempt up 306, after this one lightning strike, the sky was totally green for a second.
Did you
notice that?
Crazy.
Did you see? But did it see? Like, we came up, we had these theories about how there were aliens hiding in the lightning. Like, what movie? War of the Worlds. I think they did that.
It was freaky.
It was crazy.
It was freaky. And then I'm such a control freak as it is. So then John would be like, he'd go like 23. I'm like, no, we're not going to accelerate at all. We're going to maintain 20.
John, poor John. I feel for you, John.
Everybody was. Nobody was driving fast. I mean, you couldn't. You would totally spin out.
John, when you're nagging him while
John's a horrible driver.
But is he like, would you just shut up and let me drive, or is he just like, take
I'm
it?
sure internally he's saying that. But we've been married for 21 years. He knows that.
Just let it go, John. Just don't argue. Let her have her day in court.
Because he knows he sucks at driving. Even anybody that comes in the car. We're all like whiplash by the. John is the type of person where, like, I'm conscious to what's going on in front of me. So if I see up ahead that everyone's got their brake lights on, I'm not doing 80. I'm slowing it down because I know that not John. John will gun it and then slam on the brakes, and then when he gets that, everyone. Man, it's crazy.
I gotta tell you, like, men have their way of driving. And when we get married, I mean, John must be a better man than I am. For sure he is. Because, like, whenever my wife would, like, and she would definitely nag me about it, it would drive me up the wall. Like, I would have to pull over and get out of the car, right?
Well, I think he knows that I have... Like, am a control freak, and I have that anxiety about it. So... If he's going to drive, he'd be better off just to let me drive.
John, really I want to hear what your what song you play in your head to drown out Molly's shrieking at your driving habits.
He is so blessed to have me. So James Sullivan.
Yeah. James and I have known each other for probably going on close to, probably about 15 years. So I joined Calfee in 2002. I'd been practicing 3 years at that point. James had already been there. He is still at Calfee. He's a partner there, a litigator. I believe he runs the insurance coverage practice. And but he's been there. I mean, he's been there his entire career, which is pretty rare for lawyers.
Yes.
Right? We just interviewed
about that.
Steve Bales the other day. Like he and James, and Steve's been with his firm much longer, but there aren't a lot of lawyers that go 15, 20 years at the same place. But James has, and
but don't you want to as an attorney because you get some stake in it?
Well,
stay in one place because you want to be a partner or whatever.
Yeah, I think that you can get a stake in the law firm even if you just join it for the first time. But certainly, the longer you've been there, the more on that track you are, that partnership track. Presumably, the more likely you are to make partner if you do well from day one and stay there. Yeah, but he's a dude. The reason I wanted him on here is he is one of those dudes that is highly skilled at what he does and very professional. Has what most people would consider a pretty good amount of success and also a pretty stressful job, right? And he is just the most down to earth. I've never seen him stressed out. He's got a permanent smile on his face whenever you talk to him.
Already.
He's just got this great attitude about life. Every time I get together with him, I walk away feeling just better about humanity a little bit, right?
Well, we need that, obviously.
I know,
today.
which is why.
Yeah, and I'm stressed, so which I'm not used to, so I'll learn how to manage it a little bit.
Yeah.
So this could be good.
So I'm gonna bring him in, and then we're gonna pepper him with inane questions. All right.
I love it.
All right. James Sullivan, Molly Gebler. James Sullivan.
Oh, you got your hands full. Nice to meet you. Have a seat.
Right here?
That's the hot seat right there.
Oh, he brought a notebook.
See?
What are you supposed to
That's a first. That's a first.
Is it first?
40 episodes and you're the
No,
first
someone
person.
else brought it, but they never wrote anything on it. I
Well,
can't remember who it was.
Since I'm a lefty, I'm going to put it on this side.
All right, do it up, man.
Okay.
What's up, James Sullivan?
Hello.
Or should I say K. James Sullivan?
James
Yeah,
Sullivan.
what's the K for?
The
Cat?
K. Well,
Wait, can we guess? Oh,
Yes.
I already
let's do
know
some
it. I already
guesses.
know it. It's not. It's
You do know it?
What do you think the K stands for, Molly?
Kevin.
Nope.
Keith.
Nope. You got the first two letters right
Kelly.
in both cases. No, keep going.
Oh, I would like Kelly James Sullivan. Can we change your name to Kelly James? He's very Irish looking, so that
Yeah.
would be perfect.
well, you almost are there. You said Irish. Looking.
Okay.
Nope. Ain't gonna happen.
You got me. What is it?
So it's Kerry. Kerry.
Oh,
So.
okay.
So it's funny. So you guessed Kevin first, and
Yes.
so many people in the world guessed Kevin. My dad's name is Kevin. So I go by my middle name, James.
Okay.
My dad goes by his middle name, Kevin. My dad's real name is James Kevin Sullivan.
Is that right?
And my uncle went by his middle name, Patrick, and he was something Patrick Sullivan.
Nice Irish
So,
names all around there.
and why didn't you like Carrie?
So I did not like Cary because I did not grow up in the times of Cary Grant and the like when it was Tough Guys.
Gotcha.
And so while now I see that it's an appropriate name and I'm
Right.
for gender neutral sorts of things, at the time when I was a kid I thought I had a girl's name.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it could
Yes.
go both ways.
Gotcha.
That is
Yeah.
a gender neutral name.
Yeah.
Like
So
Alex, a little bit.
the reason I changed it was I was between second grade and third grade, and I was at the zoo, and there was a magic show at the zoo. And so you put your name in the magician's hat. And so I'm sitting in the back of the crowd, and the magician draws my name, and the magician goes, Carrie Sullivan, where is she? Where is she? And so, of course, I pictured everybody being like, "Wah!"
Yeah.
as I was walking up. I'm sure nobody was. And so immediately after that, I said, Mom and Dad, no more Carrie, I'm James now.
Oh, my goodness.
And for reasons unknown to me, they said, okay. And so then they told my teacher, my third grade teacher, that was my new name, and I enforced it by I would not answer to Carrie. So,
Is that
so
right?
kids would come up to me and they'd stand right next to me and be like, Carrie, Carrie, Carrie. And I just completely ignore them. I'd look right through them.
And why James and not Jim?
That's a good question.
Although I've heard people refer to you as Jimmy Sullivan.
Yes, some people have called me Jimmy, some call me Jim, some call
Yeah.
me Jimbo. some call me Kevin.
Did you grow up here? You have a little bit of an accent.
No, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay.
I
There's
grew
a
up-
little twang or something I'm getting.
Maybe.
More, a
I've
little
heard this
leprechaunish.
before. Yeah.
A little leprechaunish.
Yeah.
Hey, this is coming from Molly, so
That's right.
you know, McCurdy is my mother's maiden name, so I'm with you.
But what I think is cool is that you went with the K, James
Yeah.
Sullivan. You
Yeah,
could have just gone
badass.
James.
The
You went,
strong,
badass.
the strong lawyer wannabe name.
Yeah.
Well, that was because
That's solid.
I never legally changed it, and it gave me the business with my growing up, my records, because like in school, my school records were all Carrie, I think. No. My school records were James. My medical records were Carrie. My birth certificate was Carrie. And so I
Okay.
finally went to law school. I'm like, well, I got to do something with that. So I went to law school as K. James Sullivan.
Interesting.
Since I
That's
didn't have a
classy.
legal
You could be,
change.
yeah, you
Right.
could be a rapper.
You could be L. Ron Hubbard.
Yes.
You can run a Scientology church,
Yes.
right?
So the first day Alex walked into the law firm,
Yes.
what was your first impression?
So the first of Alex, right? Well, I don't remember my first interaction with Alex, but I do remember, and the story I tell, and maybe you can confirm this, because this is the way I tell it.
I can't wait to hear it.
All right, so I always tell people that we had this guy, Alex Gertzberg, who had come to the firm, and within 2 months
Yeah.
of arriving at the firm, he received a letter from the military saying, hey, you got to go over to Iraq, surprise, and you're going to correct me on all this, but and then the other part of the story is that you had met your wife, your wife in Russia,
Right.
and that you had brought her over to the United States, and that she did not know a human being in the United States besides your parents and you, and then you got called over, and so she was here,
Wow.
and then
I am so glad I asked
No,
this
each
question.
of these stories are about 78% true
Okay.
so
All
far.
right.
Keep going.
All right.
and
Yeah.
then you went, and then it turns out our law firm treated you well,
Yeah.
as I understand it, and
Yeah.
continued to pay you the whole time you were over there, which maybe they had to do legally, but they certainly should have done ethically, and it was the right
Yeah.
thing to do. So I hope they did right by you. And then when you were over there, you were sent back because your hands kind of like
That's
when you
right.
have dry mud and it cracks really badly in the desert sun. That's
Yeah.
what happened to your hands.
Yeah.
And so they discharged you.
Yeah.
Dishonorably.
No, dishonorable. Stop it. So now now the 78% just went down to like 30%. No. So there's
Anything you'd like
I
to
don't know-
clear
I don't
up
know
there,
where to s-
Chief?
I don't know where to. All right, so Ina and I, we were kids when we knew each other, and then when we first met, and then my family came to America, and her family went to Israel. Okay. We then would keep going back to Israel because my father's side of the family went there instead of the U.S. And on one of these trips, when we were 16, we met each other again, right? Like 10 years after we first knew each other. And then we stayed in touch after that. And then 10 years later, she was visiting the United States, and we hung out and rode my motorcycle all over the place.
Well, that'll do it.
And then when she went back to Israel, I was like, I'm gonna go marry that girl. And then I went, right, and we dated by international telephone, right?
Nice.
So that happened.
No diseases could be formed there.
Right. Well, right. None that we want to talk about.
That's right.
And then the last part is that I had this, it was an acute, they called it acute chronic atopic dermatitis, right? Which when you have this skin condition, the joke was that there's like every dermatologist would agree that if you have this particular condition in the severity that I had it, the three things you're supposed to avoid are extreme heat, extreme dry climates, and stress.
I thought you were going to say roadside bombs.
And
Yeah.
right. Well,
And
that's
some sand.
yeah. And so by the time that we were there, so like a year after we deployed, right, my skin was completely cracked and like bleeding and nasty. And so they flew me from Iraq to Landstuhl Army Hospital in Germany, and it cleared up. and then they were like, well, you don't need to go back. You shouldn't go back to Iraq. And so it was an honorable discharge.
Yes.
Let's not get crazy. But yeah, I received a medical discharge from the Army at the end of that first year.
Okay.
So that's about 24%.
All right.
Right. Something like
Pretty
that.
close.
I like my version better, but
Yeah, I
that's
kind
okay.
of
Well, here,
do too.
but here, I have a story about you, James,
Yes,
and
please.
and I'd like you to verify this.
Okay.
We were at the foundation room one day, right? You and I and I think it was Chris Williams,
Probably.
right? And
What's the foundation room?
it's above the House of Blues.
Oh.
It's extremely exclusive, Molly.
Very fancy
Yeah.
pants.
It's
Yes.
it's schwanky.
Yeah? Do you have to be in a club to get in?
we could-
or-
Yeah, in fact, you
You
do.
get me in?
Yeah.
We could get you
Get
in,
me
Molly.
in?
We could-
Okay.
yeah.
Well, someone else promised to get me in. Our last guest, I was.
At the foundation room.
No, it was another place.
Oh, at the Union. That was the Union
Yeah,
Club.
I better
yeah.
start writing this.
I know.
He
Well,
said
it's
I
all-
could be his guest.
It's all
and-
recorded. But here, so the story that I remember hearing that day was how when you were a young associate at Calfee, you and Chris were celebrating at the foundation room.
Yes.
And somebody, it might have been Chris, looked up and saw this bottle of Louis the 13th
Yes.
or Louis the 14th, whatever it is, and that's like $1,000 bottle of bourbon or scotch
Like
or
a $30 a glass.
no, it's $100 glass.
Is it?
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
And either you or Chris said, hey, let's line up a couple of those for
dear.
us. And you did. And then James, in his exuberance over this case that they just won, reached for his glass and spilled 2 of them all over the bar. And
Did you lick it up?
Well,
is this true?
So, all right. So, I am unfortunately not the villain in the story.
Okay.
There's someone else who's the villain. So here's how the story went. That was close.
Was that close?
Yeah, you were orbiting the story. So I was actually I was a full-fledged lawyer by a couple of years. We were at a baseball game, at the Indians game, with the client, and the client wasn't really having much to drink, so nor did we. And so so afterwards, we were walking down East 4th Street, and we said, let's duck in here and have a nightcap. And so we went there, and it was a very low-key night. We're talking like a Monday or Tuesday night, nothing going on in this place. And so we sat at the bar, and so we got to talking, and we're like, what is that thing locked behind there, and how much does it cost, right? So we asked the guy how much it costs, and then we looked at each other, and we said, we'll have one, please. And so we got one of these very expensive things on a quiet night, and they had to go get a key and fetch it or whatever. And so then
They run in the back. We got a sucker.
yeah.
We got some suckers up front.
It's really just some Chivas in a Louis the 14th bottle.
Yeah, so the story was he knocked it over.
Who?
Chris Williams knocked it over, not me. And so what was beautiful about that is this guy typically does not make mistakes. He's one of the least mistake makers I've ever met. And because we hadn't been drinking, we had no excuse. And so he just knocks it over, and it does. It spills almost the full thing, spills all over the bar. And the manager of the place comes up, puts his hand on Chris's shoulder, shakes his head, and goes, "Mr. Williams." And to their credit, they did go and they refilled it. Now it was a smaller pour the second time, but like you suggested, man, I was thinking about doing a little bit of licking on the bar action.
For sure.
Oh, I would have thought you've got some, and I think this is the real version of this story has him and Chris with straws.
Yes.
Just
Yes. Not snorting it, folks.
right.
Sipping it.
Sucking up.
For
the
sure.
drink, yes.
Oh, my. So was it good? Can we at least get that out?
It was very high quality.
Okay.
It was nice.
And that is a scotch?
A
Yeah,
bourbon.
no, it
Is
was
it a
it was a Scotch-ish, and I think that it was probably placebo effect how good it was,
Right.
Because we just spent that kind of money on it,
Right,
But
yeah.
but it was fun. It was certainly a
I'm
fun
sure
experience.
I wouldn't have liked it.
Yeah,
either
it was
way.
a nice experience.
All right. So in our crack research team,
Yes.
as you know, James, interacted with you and sent you some questions.
Yes.
And I knew most of the things in there about you, but not the tight suit pants story.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What's that all about?
So when I when I interviewed at Calfee, whatever, it was nice, and we got along well. And so
And what year are we in?
So we are in 1999 was when I was a summer associate.
Okay.
And so so I did not have a ton of money as a law student as a first year, and so I decided to so I bought a 3-for-1 deal on suits. So I got some suits, and then my uncle sent me 2 suits. Now these suits dated back to 70s or something like that. So they were big bell bottoms. But the problem is they were tight waisted and so slender up top and they got bell bottomy down at the bottom, and so
Bell bottom.
Are there pictures? We need to get this.
I wish,
for
man.
Sure.
And so I remember trying them on, and the first one was this light gray pinstripe, and I remember looking in the mirror and be like, man, I'm not sure, but I was like, whatever, man, it's a suit, right? And so I went into the office, and I'm going to go in the bathroom, and some guy down the hall says, hey, you, and I turn, and I was thinking they'd be like, welcome to Calfee, and he goes, nice suit, and he kept walking. It turned out that was Chris Williams.
Oh, is that
who turned
right?
out to be a great friend and mentor of mine. So eventually we began talking about it, and that was the last time I wore that suit. So then I just took my other 3 suits and just cycled them day in and day
that's
out.
funny.
Because those fit me a little bit better.
I think if you tried hard enough, you'll find a picture of that for the website for this.
Do you still have the suit?
No.
His wife wears it
darn.
now.
Well, I don't think I do. It could be in my costume box now. It could be there.
All right. So we did the name, we did the tight suit pants, we did the scotch. Let's talk about bird poop.
Yes. All right.
Which, by the way, anytime, and this should be known for any future interviewee, right? Anytime you add any poop story, right, it's going to get moved to the top of the list, right?
Even though we're told not to.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah, we get admonished for
our
prominently
producer
featuring
yells at
poop
us
stories,
when
but
we mention
Well,
poop.
this is about animal poop, not about
Animal poop.
not about
Perfect.
humans. So,
slightly less funny.
well,
I don't know. Well, I guess we'll find out. What's the bird poop story?
Well, should we? Maybe it's is it embarrassing to you?
No,
would you
not
like
at all.
to- okay.
No, it's fascinating. It's astonishing.
We'll be the judge of that. Jim.
Yes.
Yeah, calm down, Chief.
Yeah. I have prepared.
We'll figure that out.
I have
ourselves.
prepared remarks for saying how good my stories are that I'll tell you tonight.
Astonishing is such a great adjective to throw in there about your own story that you
I know,
haven't
right?
told yet. I'm going to start using it. It's a
Kind
good.
of cocky.
No. It's a great persuasion tool,
Oh,
right?
you'll see why it's very humble in a moment.
Wait till you hear how astonishing this story is. All right, go.
So fast
Hyped it
forward
up way
past
too
my
much.
summers where for some reason I don't understand my law firm hired me, and so my first day of work, I was walking into work because I was living downtown. I was feeling all full of myself, like an important lawyer man.
Did you have the green pinstripes suit on?
That had already been disposed of. Although I probably was wearing an ill-fitting suit of some
I'm
sort.
picturing John Travolta strutting down the street.
Yeah.
I think that is the song that
Yeah.
James was was hearing in his mind as
On
he
his
walked.
Walkman.
Yeah.
And then enter the splatter of bird poop on my foot.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So I'm walking into the firm and I get a big giant dollop on my toe. So that brought me down a notch. And then, I had mostly
As
rebounded.
if the green pinstripe
Yeah.
suit hadn't already gotten you down there.
Right.
So I had kind of like rebounded a bit, and then I went out for lunch with some people, and lo and behold, my shoulder got a big giant dollop of bird poop on it.
My, is
Twice
that
in one day.
lucky? Did you win the lottery?
And
that
people
day?
say that. I think that's to make me feel good about the story. They always say, that's
is
great
rare.
luck, man. Yeah,
That
twice
is-
in one day.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
On the shoe and the shoulder.
I wonder if
That's a good aim.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody among our voluminous audience should tell us what the stats on that
Yeah.
Yes.
are. That's got to be really rare.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then to take a turn for the more serious, my second day of work ever was September 11th. The September 11th.
Is that right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Really?
Yeah. I would like to say this then,
Yeah.
if it's too upsetting.
Please.
And we want to not be a downer anymore. Chagrin Falls. I love Chagrin Falls. It is amazing.
Oh, I built
the best.
it. We built it.
Did you, both of you?
Well, Molly is the de facto mayor of Chagrin Falls. It is what I truly believe. I think that, and I don't care who I offend. I think the actual mayor, right?
He might say that
before
as well.
Before he comes into the office, he's like, calling you up. He's like, "Hey, what should I do today?" I think that's how it goes at the village of Chagrin Falls.
I believe this. I
Yeah.
believe it. My home is in Shaker Heights, but my heart is in Chagrin
Yes.
Falls.
Oh, I love
As it
that.
should be.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be. We'll come down on November 25th, which is Shop Small Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
And stop by my office weeks before, because we're giving little cards, little wooden card keepsakes for you to show to get discounts.
Oh, cool.
It is the greatest town in the world.
It is.
For
It is.
sure.
Oh, especially in the fall. I drove in the back way today
Yeah.
or whatever from 422.
Yeah.
I assume that's called the back way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was, man, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, it's
So many jokes there.
Uh-oh.
So many jokes there.
How dare you?
Ruh-roh.
It's a family show. Oh, man. All right. Here,
Boy.
listen. Let's talk about some serious stuff
Okay.
for a second. Again, right? Because the fact is that James has a pretty serious role in a couple of different capacities, right? One is as a practice group manager
Okay.
of the insurance coverage practice group. Is that what it's called? Insurance coverage defense?
No,
That's
it's
insurance defense. That's not what you do. The opposite. You do
no.
insurance
So
coverage.
yeah, I do insurance coverage.
Right.
Now, what's interesting that you just asked me about the name of the group, because our formal name currently and for a while has been the Calfee's Insurance Recovery Practice Group.
Ooh.
But I go back and forth the same way I move in and out of names.
Yes.
James, Jim, Carrie, John, whatever. I move in, our group moves in and out of names because it depends on who our audience is, right? Because recovery, that's what we do best, right? We get money for. So to distill it, what we do is we try to make insurance companies pay money to policyholders when they need money paid, right? But that's not all we do. We also help placement of policies. And in mergers and acquisitions transactions, we can help get some insurance in place to help get the deal through. So we do a lot, and that's why just calling ourselves a recovery practice group is somewhat of a misnomer. So what I like to think of ourselves is as a policyholder coverage practice group, so people understand we work on the policyholder's behalf.
Are there a lot of law firms that have a practice group like that?
No. There's certainly lawyers here and there who would say that they do that, but the main two firms in town that do it are us and Browse McDowell. And Browse, they're very talented lawyers too.
Right.
I like to think we are also. And then Jones Day does it, but Jones Day is Jones Day. I mean, it's
Right.
the monster-sized companies it's working with mostly. So mostly in our space in the Cleveland area are these two firms.
Yeah, it is definitely a niche. I've asked you to intervene on my client's behalf, or at least review their policies and help them negotiate language. And it is something that I think I'm an okay lawyer, business lawyer, but
It's still out.
Right. But that's definitely something that you if you can have someone who just does that one thing all day long, which you do, it's worthwhile. I mean, that getting that piece right, especially if you are buying and selling a business or just buying a substantial policy, if you have a lot of assets that you're trying to protect or a lot of liability that you're trying to avoid, right? I think that most people just, I was saying this in this talk that I gave in Columbus, right? Most people go to their agent. He puts a policy in front of them for their business, which is, the way they feed their family, the way they're going to pay for their kids to go to college. And they say, yeah, you should get these coverages. And they say, okay. And then maybe a book comes in the mail like a week or two later, and it's thick, and they put it in some file cabinet and they never look at it again.
Just got that book the other
Yeah.
day.
But I mean, for the stakes that are involved, right? For how much gravity is involved in getting that piece right, to not call.
Could single-handedly close your business.
Exactly.
If you don't have the coverage.
Well,
you need
and insurance companies are just, and I'll shut up and you tell me if I'm full of it, James, but insurance companies are just like a business, just like any other business, right? They want to maximize profits. And so if the S
do the
hits...
insurance companies make profits?
Oh, my goodness. If it hits the fan in a really meaningful way for them, and they have the ability to get out of paying you, they're gonna, right?
Yeah. So what we like to say, I'll say my policyholder piece of it first, and then I'll say what my real views are. That we say that when insurance companies are trying to get you to buy a policy, they live in the land of yes.
Right.
And when they need to pay a claim, they live in the land of no.
Right.
And while there's some truth to that, I'm actually one of those rare policyholder lawyers that I do believe that many insurance companies are trying to do the right thing-ish, right? I mean, certainly, as you said, they've got their business interests. But I find that if I allow diplomacy to lead, it's astonishing how often you can get insurance companies to kind of treat you right. And get to the right spot.
And they've been taken advantage of as well in their industry, paying for maybe too much that they really probably didn't have to pay, or
sometimes
because of lawyers.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Sometimes there's some of that.
So there's probably a chip there too.
Well, and often when we get involved, they're hard, they're complicated, they're not easy answers. So in that sense, whereas a lot of people might say the insurance companies are being bad actors, a lot of times they're just dealing with complicated situations, right? And so it's my job to try to help resolve it in our client's favor, and we like to think we do a nice job. And what's beautiful about what I do is working on the policyholder side. Sometimes it really is, as you kind of alluded to, it's kind of life or death for some of these companies.
Right.
We had a family company up in the Detroit area. They owned this company for 100 years. Very nice family, a beautiful family, and they basically stored asphalt in storage tanks, right? Well, a petroleum company stored some asphalt in their tanks and didn't tell them that it had acid in it. And so that acid ate a hole in the side of the tank, and it just geysered out like 1 million gallons of this stuff. And then while a company was cleaning it up, a few months later, they set it on fire. So the whole thing goes up in flames, and you can see the asphalt from over in Canada on fire.
Oh, wow.
So that was one of those situations where, I mean, we were taking it from all sides. We were pursuing the insurance coverage claim as two claims, and the carriers didn't want to pay, the petroleum company didn't want to pay, the other companies didn't want to pay, nobody wanted to pay. And we got a very successful resolution. If we didn't, that company out of business, done.
Right.
100-year-old family
Sure.
company, and now the company is thriving and surviving. So that's the kind of stuff where you feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool too. I think one thing that we have in common is that we both love litigation. We both love to not litigate, right? And but our practices allow us to do both.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you're doing analyses and you're consulting.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and I love this stuff. I mean, it's really fun because when I was in college, I got bad advice, and people said to me, "James, just do what you love. Don't worry about anything else." And so what I ended up loving was philosophy classes, right? And not knowing that there's
beer.
right? Philosophy and beer. Those are my two things, right? And so basically, with philosophy, you do one of three things: you become a teacher, a priest, or a lawyer.
Right.
And so I opted for being a lawyer. And so the nice thing about insurance coverage is it really is a philosophy of language. And so that's what it's like. You get to play a lot. Because a lot of contracts in the world, you really have to live within the parameters of what's reasonable, right? If it can't pass the, oh, come on, test, you're not going to get anywhere. Whereas in the insurance coverage world, because a lot of the language is kind of archaic and strange to begin with, we have a lot of room for creativity, and we get away with the, oh, come on, right?
Top 3 things that you can think of. You're a business owner.
Yes.
You're talking to your insurance agent, right? You're going through that process. Top 3 things you should know.
Well, I'm going to start from the back end. I'm going to start from claim.
Again with that back end.
I know, man. As the
Molly,
words are coming.
I'm not saying
Settle
it.
down,
He's
Molly.
doing it. I'm just reiterating.
As the words were coming out, I was like, no.
Here she goes.
I couldn't reel them back in fast enough. So,
Like the bird poop.
yeah.
Keeping it serious here,
That's
folks.
right.
Keeping it serious.
That's right. So from the claims side of things, always know what your notice requirements are. And what I mean by that is when you have a loss, your insurance policies give you a certain amount of time to tell the insurance company you have that loss. I have seen horror stories about this. Now, there's different types of policies with different types of notice provisions, and I'm not going to get into those right now for you. But But suffice it to say, some of them have dates certain in them. And if you miss that date certain, you're going to get a denial letter. And the courts in the United States of America, almost throughout the entire country, will enforce those. Courts like to not enforce stuff when they can avoid unfair and unreasonable outcomes, so they find ways around it. For some reason, this is one issue that courts haven't done much on as far as doing that. So to put it in context, we had a client, and they missed it by a handful of days, and it ended up costing them about $3 million.
Oh, geez.
Now, we were able to pull a rabbit out of a hat and get them a nice chunk of change, but we did not get them anywhere near what they would have been entitled to if they had just notified the carrier a few days earlier. So that is my absolute number one top tip. Know what your notice provisions say.
And I'll add a tag to that, right? If you're like a lot of business owners and a lot of our clients who deliberately don't notify their insurance company because they're worried about their claims history, right? That's a question you need to talk to a lawyer about, right? Figuring out what the actual impact on your claims history is from just notifying them as opposed to there being an actual coverage event or a coverage decision, right? Those are not the same things. And yeah, you're right. I mean, you don't want to get that wrong, and you don't want to blow through that thinking, I'll take care of this on my own. I'll try to settle this on my own. And now you're interfering with the insurance company's right to settle, which I think is another reason for denying the claim.
Taking all his threes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, I'll shut up. All right, number two. Go number two.
No, so number two is we'll go back to the beginning, and that is when you're placing your policies, when you're completing your applications. Make sure that you're being truthful with your broker and with the insurer, because the last thing you need to do is to get a policy set up and then have it revoked or whatnot.
Right.
Now, there are ways around it. Sometimes passage of time will cure those sorts of ills, but you don't want to be in a position where you're on the defensive trying to justify why you didn't tell the truth to an insurance company.
Especially after you've been paying all those premiums all those years.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes those sorts of things can be unwound and you get your premiums back if the policy is canceled.
Right.
But nonetheless, sometimes you don't. And in any case, you want the coverage when you need it.
Well, yeah, but the point is you're paying those premiums for the coverage. Right. And so that's an investment you're making.
Absolutely.
That coverage better be there. And for it not to be there because you were trying to hide something would be unfortunate.
Yeah, that's right. And then for a third piece of advice, I would say when you have a professional liability policy or a directors and officers policy for companies, always do what we say, mind your gaps, right? Always work with a broker. Always understand how, when you're changing your insurance companies, you understand how the policies fit together, because the way these things are structured, if you switch your insurance company and you don't look at and consider gaps, you might have what we call gaps in coverage. Your broker should know this. Your broker should help you with this, but just kind of think about these issues as you're looking at them.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and so you're handling these bet the company cases, right? You're advising companies and business owners on bet the company issues. And I was telling, and you're running your own practice group, right? And all that goes with that. There's business issues, there's personnel issues, and yet, as I was telling Molly, I don't think I've ever seen you stressed out.
Ooh, interesting.
Do you think
you haven't looked hard enough?
No, honestly, and I would defy, and actually I would challenge and invite anyone who has seen James stressed out to write to us, because I mean we worked somewhat closely together at Calfee, and yeah, I mean, I know you must get stressed out because you're not, the $6 million man, but do you get overtly, expressly stressed out?
I suppose maybe this answers the question. One time in law school, my friend and I drove through a Boston market, and they said right there that you can essentially have it your way. I know that's Burger King's slogan, but they invited me to have it my way. And so I asked for turkey and something with no mayonnaise, and I got it, and there was mayonnaise. So at a stoplight, I got out of the car and I threw it on the ground, and I jumped up and down, and my friend was tempted to leave me behind. So I get upset from time to time.
That's not at all where I thought that story was going.
Yeah.
Is that? But all right, if Gabe was sitting right here,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
or if one of your colleagues were sitting right here, and I asked them, all right, what do you see when James gets really stressed out,
Oh,
right?
okay.
What optically?
Well, the wife would probably know. I would think probably the best on his behavioral indications
Yeah.
that he's reaching a point of
What?
throwing the mayonnaise.
Well, no, but I'm not talking about college in the drive-through.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like as a practice group manager and a litigator. Because
How
I'm
does
not.
your staff know that you're getting there?
Well, so for reasons unknown, I don't typically get upset at people so much. I do get upset with inanimate objects.
Interesting.
Primarily computer equipment. And so I'd say, if somebody is walking past my office, and I tend to be a flailer and a contorter of my face when I get upset, and it's usually because my computer's frozen.
So
or-
maybe his stress, angry face is the big smile.
Yes, right here. In
Maybe
fact, I'm
that's
very
the-
angry and very stressed at this very moment. Can't you see it?
Behind those eyes, there's
Yeah.
an angry man just waiting to come out.
Yeah. So if that computer there freezes, just let me know. I'll take care of it for you.
Yeah, no, I've not seen it. I've not actually seen the flailing and the contorting. But if someone can make a video of it and send it in, that'd be
There's
great.
going to be a price to pay, right?
Right.
Well,
All
we
right.
could maybe get the footage from the Boston market.
Yeah.
They probably have
They
footage.
probably have it.
Yeah.
Speaking of stress, you're also the chair of the Bar Association's Committee on Mental Health and Wellness,
Yeah.
right?
And you just did an event or are doing an event?
So recently, well, it's interesting. So it's a more complicated answer than you think. So what our committee focuses on more is along the lines of what people historically would have considered mental health disorders and mood disorders. But the CMBA, as it ought to, is also really starting to focus heavily on just normal, everyday health
Preventative.
issues, right? Like exercise and diet and sleep and the like, and meditation. So basically, our committee was kind of supplementing and working with the Bar Association. But the Bar Association itself really put on this great program recently. They were called Wellness Wednesdays, and there's another one coming up.
That's what Rebecca was
Yeah,
talking
and there's one
about.
coming up which is half day, and it's going to be really nice. It's in November, and it's going to be really all about stress focus, and it's going to be something that
might need to
is
go
worth
to
going
that.
to as lawyers.
So I'm going to go back to
Yeah.
what you were saying about the mental health, because we were just talking about how it's kind of a little bit more accepted now.
Yes.
To it's okay that you have that and are working. So you're working with attorneys who are dealing with some kind of mental health issue.
So essentially, to distill what our committee is trying to accomplish, so mental health issues and substance abuse issues, huge in the legal industry, and it's higher than average. And so, but lawyers are also the type that try to white knuckle it and want to hide it, right? And want to not admit it because we're supposed to be all things to all people.
and because we're worried about the stigma of and the mark that we think it will leave on our record or
Exactly.
right with our clients,
Yeah.
with the Supreme Court.
Yes, that's right. And so what the committee is trying to do is to destigmatize and help people understand that it exists in the community. And then what it's also supposed to do is to identify resources and essentially connect those suffering in our legal community with the help they need.
Yeah.
We are not therapists, right? We are not the ones who can actually provide the actual help or treatment, but we certainly try to act as a link and a bridge so that people who are suffering feel there's some place to go and can get help.
Are you still meditating?
You know what? I'm glad you said that. I was coming around there. I was turning
Yeah.
my ship into that port.
I'm glad
yes.
you mentioned it.
So
Yeah.
so Alex Gertzberg actually is partly responsible for my current state of
He's trying to get me.
non-stress.
He's
Yeah.
trying to get
So-
me into meditating, but
It's a game changer.
Yeah, he hooked me up with this app called a Headspace app, which is very famous.
Yeah.
It's kind of secularized meditation for folks who are kind of like, oh man, is it kind of this ooey gooey, otherworldly stuff, and it it really works wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do it pretty regularly. I'm currently in an everyday thing right now,
Yeah.
but love it.
Yeah. It's and by the way, folks, if you want more information, flip back about 3 episodes and listen to the John Cunningham episode.
We need to bring him back.
You weren't here for that.
Me not being here was
Yeah, and in fact, he after that episode, the one after that was a guided meditation that Nelly recorded with him. So you could actually listen to his interview and then have him guide you through a meditation. I will say this every time we ever talk about it. It is. There have been a lot of highly impactful moments, I'm sure, in all of our lives, right? And highly impactful books and people that we know and movies that we've seen. The singularly, if that's a real adverb, most impactful thing, I think, like in terms of lifestyle changes and the way my attention goes and the mental attitudes or whatever that I've ever experienced was through meditation.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
I have to say, going back to the pinstripe suit, he's definitely changed. I mean, this little number that he's got on today, you definitely...
Now I've got a tiny pinstripe
got
shirt.
A little belt and the funky socks and I'm telling you, he learned his lesson.
I will say about the socks, you wore colorful socks before wearing colorful socks was cool. I remember that.
What's the reason? What's going on?
I don't know. I've been attracted to colors and
bright colors
and interesting looking things all my life. And, and it was one of those things where when you're going into a world where many people are wearing just a dark suit and dark socks and a white shirt and a dark tie, it was kind of like, man, what have I signed up for here?
James always had the loudest socks you've ever seen, just like fireworks coming out of his feet as he walked. I remember it so well now.
KJ is rocking the colors.
Oh my goodness. And then, did you also occasionally wear a matching handkerchief in your suit?
So I pull that move from time to time, but it's got to be
for the ladies.
Special occasions.
Yeah, it's got to be subtle and it's got to be the right moment.
Oh my goodness!
For a bow tie, I could see you doing a bow tie.
I like those, but I don't know how to tie them.
Gotcha.
What I do is I will put up the YouTube and then I'll try and tie it, and then I'll get very frustrated. You want to see me frustrated?
Oh, there we go.
Tie the bow tie, and then I'll call my wife in and say, "Do you mind helping out?" And she's very good at it. So
and then she brings in the clip on.
Just
wear this. All right, lightning round. Ready?
Yes.
All right. Oh, and you, James, are only the second recipient of the new and improved lightning round questions.
All right.
Yeah. All right. If you were on a desert island, and you could only bring one musician's...
Is it a desert island or a deserted island?
Ooh, that's a great point.
Thank you.
Let's go desert because that's what I went with. But
okay.
It could be both.
There could be people around.
I guess you would want it. No, you're right. It should be deserted.
Correct. You know how I am
you're
with
right.
words.
Let's be specific here.
You slay words.
You know how I'm very. I need
Molly's
to be very
surgical. You're on a deserted desert island, and you can only bring with you one musician's entire discography. Okay.
I recognize that this is at the risk of sounding like I am thinking of myself as the cool guy I've already declared myself to be 10 times during this podcast. But
if the watch didn't say it, I don't know what did.
So there is an electronic musician out of England called Burial.
Interesting.
And I find that I listen to Burial when I am on my deserted island of loneliness at work late at night. And whenever I'm like really at the end of my energy rope and at the end of my emotional and mental health energies at night, man, I lock in on that. It gets me through a couple hours of work. Yeah.
Were you secretly a rave kid and nobody knew that?
Well, so it's funny you say that. My wife is always like, I'm like, no. It's different kind of electronic music.
Can you spell the name of the band or the?
Yeah, Burial, like a shroud. Yeah.
Can you still spell it for Molly? It's BERRY.
That's not
-AL.
BURIAL. Yes.
Molly just flipped me off, ladies and gentlemen. Burial. We're going to have to check that out.
I'm going to pull it up right now. So keep talking about your Burial.
You can get some background music going.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Now, in fairness, A lot of it doesn't sound exactly like this song, which I do like this song, but some of it's a little more down-tempo, and it sounds better through, like, the real deal speakers.
I like that stuff, man. All right.
To you.
Same desert island.
Yes.
Deserted desert island. And you can only bring one author's entire book collection. Who's the author?
I'm going to say the author that I would bring is Regina Brett.
Interesting.
Who's my mother-in-law.
Wow. That was the most well thought out answer.
Ask kisser.
And I did not have this question posed before this moment.
No, we do not.
I love your mom-in-law.
She does have a quite, a breadth of work, right?
Well,
a large
it's
body
expanding.
of work there.
So she is in Poland right now launching a new book. And she's going to, it's a tour. It's a book tour. It's like, instead of a music tour, it's a book tour. And she's going to all the cities, like if you were to be in Ohio and you went to Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Toledo, Akron, all the major cities. Yeah. That's what she's doing right now. As we speak.
Why Poland? Like,
it's one of those curious things in life. The Polish folks just love her books, and it just caught fire.
What's her book about?
So she's written, I think, 3 prior to this. And it's inspirational stuff, and they're kind of like these small snippets, one by one. She'll tell, they're not stories. I mean, they have story elements to them, but each one is a different kind of conceptual thought. It started because she was a columnist for the Plain Dealer for many years, and then the Akron Beacon Journal before that. And she had this one column she wrote when she was turning, I think, 40 maybe 40, maybe 50. I think it was 40, and it was like life's lessons. So she just did one of those lists, and people loved it and passed it around, so she converted it to a book format and took off like hotcakes or wildfire, whatever takes off.
I'm a huge fan of hers. She was an amazing columnist. I don't think is she still?
No, she does some for the Cleveland Jewish News now.
Yeah.
But not for the Plain Dealer anymore.
I used to read her columns religiously, and she did an amazing one on your wife.
Yeah,
a 4-part series, and it was just it was amazing. She is an incredible author, and yet I'm still going to call bullshit on that answer. Here, can we ask this question? Can I ask it a little bit differently? If Regina Brett's collection was not available,
okay,
all right, because it was sold out in Amazon and all the bookstores, who else would you bring?
Well, this is a pathetic answer, and I don't think that I...
Obviously, Alex thinks your other one was pathetic, too. So.
No, that was a good answer. I just, I think that there's...
It's not the one he wanted to.
It's not the one
I think the only book collection that I've ever read from start to finish is The Hardy Boys, and I did...
All right.
My gosh, I'm in love with you.
I did quite rather like it, especially I loved when they would eat 2 hamburgers, and I always wanted to have 2 hamburgers.
Oh, my gosh. Now, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
41.
Okay, you're a little young for Hardy Boys. Because I'm 47, and that was like my prime.
Franklin W. Dixon.
Wow.
Was the author.
Oh.
Yeah. The Hardy Boys also the last book that Molly ever read.
Well, that was just because I love Sean Cassidy. And he was involved in the series at some point, or right? Was he in the movie? I don't know. No, I read no books.
It's
okay,
really
so
surprising.
has he
go
answered
ahead.
all the
your
questions
turn.
you would like
No,
him
I got
way
no.
You like him
those
to
are my
answer
2.
them?
Well, yeah, those are acceptable.
Okay, great.
No,
was his music okay for you?
I don't know. I don't have to listen to it. And I do mean what I just said about Regina Brett. She is an amazing, amazing writer, and you are lucky to have her as your mother-in-law.
This is true.
Yeah. No, now you go,
Thank you.
Molly. You're welcome.
Thank you. You're so sweet. What's on your mind right now?
Alex, what answer am I allowed to give?
You may choose.
No, you say it first, and then he'll tell you.
That's right, yes.
What you're not.
Well, I kind of wish that I had saved my Chagrin Falls compliment until this moment. Because I would tell you this. I'm telling you, on the drive-in, man, I love nothing more.
So you're moving.
There you go. Speaking of mother-in-law, right? So my mother-in-law and my wife conspired against me because my mother-in-law and my father-in-law live in Cleveland Heights. And we used to live like a couple blocks away from them in Cleveland Heights, and we were moving out to a new home. And they basically were like, all right, see this dot? This is our home. See this circle? That's a 10-minute radius. You're going to live right in there. You see what I'm talking about? No. We love, the in-laws are amazing. They are so helpful with the kids. They adore the kids. So yes, if I was left to my own druthers, if that's the right use of druthers,
We'll go with it.
I'd like to live in Chagrin Falls someday in my lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, your father-in-law is a really good dude too.
Yeah.
Bruce Hennis,
Bruce
right?
Hennis of Hennis Communications.
Fascinating fellow. Yeah. He helps companies and people communicate bad news, basically, right?
Right.
Or when they need to.
Or manage it. He's a crisis communication specialist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have him speak?
Yeah, so he and I did a
Okay,
presentation
okay.
at your
Yes.
at your township hall
Yes.
at the chamber. Yeah, and it was really good. It was pretty well attended, and he gave a great presentation. And he's another one of those guys that works in this niche that he is probably one of the country's foremost experts in.
Yeah, he travels a lot to do what he does, and no, he's been. It's funny. I really did hit the in-law lottery because he's been a huge business mentor to me. And he understands what I go through and kind of the hours we have to put in sometimes and stuff. And and my mother-in-law is a huge life coach for me. So it's kind of cool to have those two in my life.
Very cool.
He's also a really good fan of good jazz music.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he's a huge Nighttown guy.
Yeah.
And
He
they put on
probably
great
knows
music there.
Dr. Morris.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I
bet
bet
you're
he
right.
does. I bet you does. Maybe we could get him to be a podcast guest.
Who, Bruce?
Yes.
I'm sure he'd love to.
Or he could.
I don't want to speak
Yeah.
for him. Maybe he would.
He could speak at the chamber event next
Yeah.
year.
We'll talk.
And then my other question is, what are you binging right now?
Pizza. Always.
No. On
Wait
TV.
a second. Hold on, Molly. Wait. That's not acceptable
It's
for
the
you.
TV binging,
What the
not
hell?
food binging. TV binging.
Well-
I didn't really think I needed to make that
But you know what? But shouldn't it be any kind of media binging? Like is book binging allowed? No, it's got to be TV.
No, you got your book crap in your. This is TV binging. This is Netflix binging. What are you binging on TV?
So the most recent thing upon which I have feasted.
Now you're going to tell me what questions I'm going to ask?
I think you should say
He's
TV
unbelievable,
binging.
this
You should
one.
say TV binging from now on.
Well, obviously,
James is a pretty smart guy, and
I
he
know,
thought you were
I'm
talking
shocked.
about pizza.
I'm shocked about that. I'm shocked about that.
I like the pizza answer. Go
I
ahead.
love the pizza.
What's the TV binge?
True Detective Season 1, which
don't
has
know
Matthew
True
McConaughey,
Woody Harrelson.
and Woody Harrelson.
That was an amazing series.
Amazing
Yeah.
series.
I have
And
not
what's funny about this series, right, is it started off really strong. I think it started strong. It either started weak and got strong or started strong and got weak. But I remember there being like an episode or two where I was like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure about this. And then I remember being like, oh my gosh, I love it. And it's funny because at the end of the series, it's basically absurd. It really is ridiculous. And yet they've roped you so deep in with the characters that you love it.
You're
Even the
invested.
end, you're like, wow, this is sweet. So
I
great.
remember thinking there
Great
was
show.
a time when it got too Twin Peaksy on me, right?
During that
Yeah.
first season. Yeah, I agree.
But I think it started strong, it got too crazy, and then it ended strong.
I think that might have been the way I felt about it. Yeah.
And is it over? It's a.
There was another season, wasn't it?
There was a season 2, which supposedly kind of fell flat.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I think that if my memory serves right, it fell flat. Yeah.
Okay.
Molly, what are you binging right now?
I'm still binging West Wing. I haven't finished it yet.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's good stuff.
You know, it's interesting. When I was young, I used to binge shows like The Donna Reed Show and My Three Sons.
See, but where can you find them, though?
Well,
That's the problem.
So I don't know
YouTube,
where
I think.
anymore, but back then, so it was pretty funny. So it was on Nickelodeon's Nick at
yeah.
Night.
I
And-
want to find Happy Days
Yeah.
and watch that in its entirety, and Laverne and Shirley, but I can't.
Yeah, I don't know where you'd find those.
Yeah.
So my mom didn't let us watch that for about a year because she thought when we were asking to watch it, we were asking to watch Naked Night. And so I was like,
I was
like,
Catholic mom.
yeah, oh yeah, very much so, yeah. So I'd be like, Mom, can we watch Naked Night? And she'd be like,
Oh, my
no, how
goodness.
dare you be asking to talk about Naked Night?
Oh my.
and so I was probably the one kid in America who was not allowed to watch Donna Reed for a year.
That's funny.
I don't even. Oh, what was Donna Reed?
Oh, it was like a Mom Got an Apple Pie sort of program.
Okay.
And no offense to Mom
Yeah.
God or Apple
Right.
Pie, but
yeah.
It was like Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
yes,
okay,
right.
I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yes.
Okay.
It was all American.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, lately,
Apologies for the use of All American too. I don't know.
that would be a good binge right now, though. And you know what
Yes.
else? Like lately, I've been watching old Scooby Doo's with Maya, and yeah, those are good. Those are some good mysteries.
And where are you seeing?
Yeah, they got some on. I think where are we watching? I think it's on Netflix.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Huh.
Old cartoons and like Flintstones. We watched Popeye the other day, like the stuff we grew up with. Dude,
Yeah.
try that. I mean, with or without a kid, right?
Right.
But like, just watch the cartoons that you watched as a
kid
kid.
thing, but
Well,
I know
I'll
I've
let you
tried to
borrow
watch
mine.
like Footloose with my girls,
Yeah.
and they're like, "This
Lame.
sucks."
Didn't they remake that?
They did. It wasn't as
Was
good
it
as the
terrible?
original.
I think my greatest moment as a dad so far was we were in the car, and my kids typically have made us listen to Kids Bop and
Yeah.
Kids
Is it
Play
on, like,
Live
28,
and stuff like
98
that.
now?
Yeah, well, so we're driving down to Akron to visit my dad one day, and my kids wanted to hear my music. And in fact, I tried to turn on Kids Bop, and my 4-year-old had a meltdown fit because she wanted to listen to The Strokes.
The Strokes. I was wondering if they wanted to
Burial.
listen to your
To
Burial.
right? Yes. So I was ecstatic. It
Oh
was
yeah, my girls
happiest
are.
moment.
They know every '80s song. They're well cultured in the music field. Yes.
All right, so those were your two. All right, so then my next two are.
Oh, I thought we were replacing them.
Are we replacing or are we adding to them?
I don't know. It depends. I mean, it can't be a 45-minute lightning round because then
I
we
think
need
that's
to
what's
take lightning out of it.
I think that's what's funny about it. There's nothing fast about them at
The
all.
slow-mo lightning round.
Wait, I think we said it was like it was going to be a reasonable downpour.
Yeah, it's like
round.
time lapse photography.
Right. All right, well, we're talking about it, so we got to
Yes,
do it.
yeah.
But maybe we just answer them really quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Your biggest success, and you can't say anything about your family.
Or your mother-in-law, obviously.
My biggest success, I mean, I guess it's lame, but recovering insurance proceeds from my clients.
No, that's not lame. That's solid. That's a career goal.
Let's see if that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Alex?
I'll allow that.
Okay,
I'll allow
good.
that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Your biggest failure, and you can define failure any way you want, except as a success. That would be inappropriate.
I'd say my biggest failure per se has been having certain character defects of which I'm aware that I have not quite been able to conquer.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's pause and see if he says what they are.
I know you're dying to ask.
We don't have much more time. The list is long.
All right, Molly.
All right, so I think I know the answer if Alex will allow you to answer it. The most influential woman in your life.
Ah, yes.
Or do you have I should say, do you?
Yes. So the most influential women in my life.
Nice.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Clearly, the winner chicken dinner is my wife Gabrielle, and then the close runner-ups are my daughters Ainsley and River.
Ainsley and River.
Yes.
Very cool names.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys are into, and is that their true name or is that their middle name?
Yeah.
It's R. Ainsley Sullivan.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
so what we were trying to accomplish, so my wife kept her last name Brett when we got married because her mom and her were thick as thieves growing up, because she didn't really have a deeply involved dad, so it was kind of like they were it, right? So she wanted to keep the name, and so what we did was to honor her name, we took her 3 names, split them into our 3 kids' middle names. So her name's Gabrielle Veronica Brett, so my son is Asher Brett Sullivan, and it's Ainsley Veronica Sullivan and River Gabrielle Sullivan.
We think.
Yes.
I'll check their birth certificate.
That was tortured. That was actually the only stressed out expression I've ever seen from James just now.
Do I have a lifeline?
Yes.
Now we know what James looks like when he's stressed
Yeah,
out.
right.
All right, the final and most important lightning round question. An embarrassing thing about yourself that no one else knows.
Oh, that no other person in the world knows. Something embarrassing that people probably don't know about me is probably how often and surreptitiously I engage in fast food consumption.
Oh, really?
I love it, man.
What's your favorite?
What's your go-to?
Well, okay, so actually this is kind of fitting
and
with
you'll
it.
all see through the selfie that he's a very
Svelte.
small and fit gentleman. Yes, yes. Now, if I were to say I enjoyed fast food, we'd all get that.
Oh man,
But not.
I don't even feel like I can respond.
Jay, KJ here.
Well, I like McDonald's the best, and my best guess is that it's a childhood issue, right, of some sort or another. So this gets into the embarrassing and the uncomfortable game or whatever, right?
The psyche.
Yeah, getting in the psyche. Because I quite rather like the Burger Kings and the Chick-fil-A's and the Wendy's of the world and stuff. But the only one that I really feel like I must have on a semi-regular basis is McDonald's.
But what's your favorite?
I usually get.
Please say Big Mac.
Quarter pounder cheese. It's definitely the quarter pounder cheese.
Every now and again, I indulge in that. So typically, what I get is either a
salad,
4-piece or 6-piece nuggets, or a McChicken no mayonnaise with a plain hamburger on the side. Always plain hamburger on the side, and then
you know they're $2.25 for a whole meal.
I McPick too.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the favorite dip?
I don't dip.
No dip.
No dip.
You have some issues with
right.
Yeah. I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Do you have spaghetti sauce on your spaghetti?
Yes, I do that.
Ketchup with
no
your
ketchups.
Fries? No.
All right, kids. Well,
This has been.
we learned a lot today,
have
Molly.
laughed. You know what? This is
We learned a lot.
my theory. We're hiring at the office, so I spent the entire day in phone interviews. The entire day. So my head. So this was lovely to gather and laugh.
Let's do a quick review, shall we?
Yes.
We learned that James was bird pooped on twice in the same day.
Yes.
Had an issue with tight suit pants. We learned some good tidbits about the insurance purchasing and defending world. We learned that James squirms when you ask him what all of his children's names are.
Or if you put mayonnaise on a sandwich.
Right. So I'd say this has been a pretty successful podcast when you say Molly.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Other than that one wrong answer he gave.
Now, there were a couple, but, it's all good. No, I'm just joking. James, that was awesome. That was a great interview. Thank you very much.
I'm grateful for you inviting me.
Thank you.
To your show.
Is there anything you would like to get out there to the universe? Anything you're working on? Any news? Any scoops? Anything important?
No, I mean, just, trying to live life the right way,
It's not guaranteed there, Chief.
Right.
Trying to do what I can to be honest and ask myself before I do things, is it helpful or is it hurtful? And,
Ooh.
Right.
Is it helpful or is it hurtful? Before you do that, it's black and white.
That's right.
It's objective.
That's wonderful.
I heard before we leave, this guy the other day say that his rule with his kids and his family for anything they say is it loving? Is it true? And is it an improvement on silence?
An improvement.
Yeah.
On
Is it better?
silence.
Does anything need to be said here at all? I've been trying to do that.
You didn't do it at all during this podcast.
You're saying.
Well, there's another series of questions you go through, right?
You, Molly.
Is it true? Does it need to be said?
Right.
Does it need to be said by me?
Right.
And does it need to be said by me right now?
Oh, it's a lot of questions.
It's a lot. I mean, by that time, the person I'm having the
gone.
conversation is like, why is she just quiet?
Oh yeah, I'm always like, to my wife, I'm always like, hold on, wait, I'm thinking. Hold on 1 second.
Molly, are you working on anything important and that you'd like to get out there to the
I'm
universe?
trying to think of when this would air. The Shop Small Saturday is November 25th. Just always shop small.
Yeah.
Just
True.
That's the end of the story.
Yeah. Shop small as opposed to shops mall.
Yes.
Which is not even a mall.
Yeah, don't.
No.
Right.
Don't shop the mall.
Right.
Shop the valley.
Shop small.
Yes. Shop small. It was put on by American Express. Just to
Brilliant.
shop local.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
Shop small.
Shop
Folks.
local, shop
Shop
small.
local.
However you want to say it, Alex.
I'll say it that way.
Perfect. And you?
Well, I
A shower, we're hoping,
a shower,
right?
change of clothes, that's happening. But it is that time of year.
Yes.
Molly, James, you participated in the last 2 years. It's our third annual essay contest. We Solve Problems
good.
Essay Contest. And
That's
this,
fantastic.
yeah. So, folks, go to gertzberglaw.com and click on Essay Contest. And what you'll see is that Molly here of the Chagrin Valley Chamber and I are blowing this thing up this year. And there are 7 schools this year, James.
Wow.
Right? So you've read essays in both of the last 2.
Yes.
Right? And you donated money.
This is true.
You have.
Yeah.
You're on the James is on the sponsor and the judge page, and his
so
wife.
awesome.
Yeah, and this year it's 7 schools.
Amazing.
It's 6,000 students,
Wow.
eligible students.
Wow.
Yeah, and this year it's just going to be huge. So go there and sign up to be a judge, and sign up to be a sponsor. And there's all kinds of great things that come out of that. And
We
it's
should get like business teams to read, like to have, like get the leader of the business to gather a team from their group. They could raise money. Their team could raise money to
love
donate. I know, it's just
if
coming
you're-
to me right now.
If you are a CEO
Yes.
or any other executive at a business and you'd like to
Yes.
volunteer your business, that's a great idea, Molly.
Yeah, we'll
Look at
give
you
them little
always thinking.
boxes. Remember UNICEF? We'll give them little
Yeah.
little collection
Yeah,
boxes.
it's a great idea.
Little essay
Well,
collection
look,
boxes.
here's the thing, right? This is a historic, groundbreaking thing. No one else has ever done anything like this, and we are. In order to keep growing it, it really needs more people to read essays and more people to
for
donate
sure.
money. And all of the money goes to the winning students and their schools, right? And so
$16,000 last year.
13,000 last year we raised. Yeah,
That's what I meant.
And
to say.
you're helping these students think critically and solve problems and learn to communicate well, and you're giving them scholarship money and you're giving money to their schools, and so it's a really
we gave a lot to Chagrin Falls last year. A lot
Chagrin
of money.
Falls swept it last year.
Swept it
Yeah.
all freshman, junior, senior.
Come on,
Yeah.
other schools.
Sophomore, miss.
Get up in there.
I would suggest that you take this plug here and you cut it and you paste it at the beginning of your program, since nobody's going to still be listening to the program at this
I
point.
don't think so.
I think this is going to be the most
I
well
think
listened
we
to
had
us.
them at Green Pinstripe.
That's right.
No, this
yes.
is
Yes.
this is going to.
Don't cut yourself short.
All 57,000 of our listeners are
Yes.
still listening right now.
It's a great thing. I remember reading some of those essays. Man, it's amazing what these students can come up with.
Yeah.
It was there was one in particular really hit home last year. It was really well written and really thoughtful. It was cool.
Good.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
cool.
well, and thank you for donating and for
Yes.
reading, and I think
Yes.
Gabe did too. So thank you, Gabe.
Yes.
All right, awesome. Hey, thank you, James, once again. Thank you, Molly.
James. Thank you, Alex.
We'll see you-
1,000 thanks to both of you.
Yeah, that was awesome. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everyone. Do me a favor, folks. Get on your computer and go to thebest.podcast.ever.com and click on the subscribe button. And then there's a Facebook page. You can also like it there.